All right, aloha. We are going to get started. We are live on our social media pages, so I do really want to mahalo everyone online and those watching on Akaku, and especially Akaku, for being here. Chivo is always here with us, never too far from us, but you know, the online folks, they have to put up with a lot of things and watching from afar. So for those of you there, we aloha you, including you, Auntie Irene Tejada. Thank you for telling me you're watching online. So really appreciate it. Oh, I see Uncle just sitting down, look, he just sat down. I'm going to ask Uncle to bless our meeting tonight. This is our last meeting of 2024, as we've been mentioning since last month. So while we will miss all of you greatly, we will absolutely be back January 8th. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. But just to have a break to allow for people's different activities and celebration or memorials or a chance to be with each other. So we'll give that time there. I also want to say aloha to Allison Daniel from connected to the Lahaina Intermediate School, because she made it a point today to say how these meetings really help folks who are watching online or on Akaku. So here in the room we have many of you, and at this time I'm going to walk over to Uncle Lawrence to offer a pule so you can bless our meeting tonight, Uncle.
Thank you. In Jesus' name, O God, we thank you for this place that you have provided us with, and we thank you for gathering the people here that is so involved with the disaster that we had, that it makes it right. Thank you for the county leaders, the Mayor Bison and Director Mahina, for putting this together and keeping us all together. Lord, we ask that you bless us all here tonight, that we be in harmony with each other, and that we also respect each other. Even if we raise our voices, forgive us, Almighty God, but that is just part of us. Lord, we thank you for the many blessings that you have provided us with all the entities and government entities that you have blessed us with to bring us this far. It is so nice to see the homes being built, O Lord, and we thank you for that. It gives me much and give us much good feeling that we coming back to what we were. Lord, we ask that each and every one here tonight be blessed with the spirit of Christmas, that we look forward instead of backwards, and that we raise our spirits and accept that we have so much love and respect for each other, and that the Lord has given us this. Lord, I'm going to be talking too much, so I ask the Almighty God that as we go through this meeting, please be with us. And after the meeting, Lord, be with us and keep the road safe and healthy, that we may be, that you take us home all safely and healthy to our loved ones. In the name of Jesus, we thank you, Almighty God, for all your love. Amen.
Thank you, Uncle. You know, it's always a time to reset, because I don't know about you, but by the time we get here, it's such a busy day, right? So mahalo for gracing us with that. We have a number of announcements. We also have a very full agenda tonight, so I'm going to delve right into it. This is the holiday season. It could be joyful for some, and it can be really difficult for many. So we just want to remind everyone again, please take care of yourself. use that QR code. All of these slides are posted on Maui Recovers, so you can, copy them, share them, look at them, refer back to them. These are the numbers to reach out. We also want to point out that there's Lahaina Health Centers, Kokua Maui call line, but you can call them 8:30 to 4. They're a way to text 988 if you have an 808 area code. And here is the, what the heck is this called? It's the place you can go to. It's right below the Civic Center. So here is a walk-in place that you can go to seek support and help. We don't want you to be without support. And don't hesitate. We tell our own people this all the time. But I'm sure you've seen this location right below the Civic Center. Call 211. We always want to remind you that program is still available. I believe, do we have a DCM here tonight? Okay, hopefully they're on their way. We have asked for them to be here. We do have Joe here from, where is he? He is here, right? From Department of Human Services. 211 is a program under his department. We wanted to share some really neat things with you tonight. Apparently the PTSA organizations on West Maui have been very busy. They've been writing grants to, for example, Kaiser Foundation. They've rallied support, and they've built wellness rooms for faculty, for the teachers and staff at Lahaina Intermediate School and Lahaina Luna, as well as Sacred Hearts. These are the examples. This morning, Principal Bookline, Stacy Bookland, on the bottom, your right, Lahaina Intermediate School had an opening of it, and it was a fabulous room. Lahaina Luna had theirs recently, and Sacred Heart School. So I am so amazed that your own community's PTSA are stepping up and doing all they can for teachers and their staff. We wanted you to know that there is a mural at Kaiser Lahaina Clinic. So if you see it at that temporary site, it's a program of the Maui Public Art Corps. Hale Ho'ike at the Bailey House, County, Lahaina Restoration, Maui Historical. So beautiful mural. It's an interpretation of a talk story between a Lahaina Luna graduate of 1962, if that's your classmate, and Dean Tokishi, who's with Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission. But beautiful mural. This Saturday, December 14, at the Lahaina Civic Center, if you need to dispose and recycle bulky items, you can bring it there. So appointments are required. Use that email or the QR code to make sure you make that arrangement. So please utilize this program. It's this coming Saturday, just in time for New Year's cleaning. Get rid of any bulky items that anyone has, not just in Lahaina town, but Lahaina immediate, but West Maui. There was a question about the bus route at the last time. We're still trying to solve that one. Our Department of Transportation is working on that question about the Lahaina Aquatic Center bus stop. But they did want you to know that these are bus route additions beginning Tuesday, next week Tuesday. We're going to take questions right at the very end. But on Tuesday, December 17, these are the bus routes that have been added, all right? And you can also go to mauicounty.gov/bus and get that schedule. There was a question about Hawaiian Electric. Hawaiian Electric will be at our January 8th meeting. They could not be here tonight. I'm sure they would have. They were trying. So they're coming January 8th, but to help with some immediate questions, here is the information they wanted us to share with all of you. Please, you can learn more about restoring your power for your own property at mauirecovers.org/electric restoration. And again, you can get that QR code. You can call their customer installations on Maui, 808-871-2390 to get that information on installations on your property. If you have a street light request, use mauicounty.gov. Okay, get one long thing. So go to the website, but it's mauicounty.gov/2024/com-connect. Okay, and that'll get you to that. They are prioritized and sent to Hawaiian Electric. The timeline that they tell us is about 6 to 8 weeks or longer. Electrical infrastructure must be rebuilt first. So they're going to talk about that a little more on January 8th. But in the meantime, use that information to get some information and help. We were at the Lahaina Honolua senior meeting, their December meeting, where they all got together at MEO. Nora Cabanilla, forgot her last name, gave a tremendous talk, and we wanted to share this clip with you because we think hearing it from a senior from within your own community is very valuable.
My family alone lost 19 homes, the Cabanillas, but we're so grateful that we're all alive. And that's our blessing. All of these Lahaina people, they lost their homes. Nana Shon has to come all the way over here now. But we just count our blessing. Please continue to pray for us. Please continue to support us and pick us up where we can pick up ourselves. Because I can tell you, I checked myself in at Kaiser. I went knocking on the door at Kaiser. I was there at 7:58. They opened at 8 o'clock. I said, I don't know what's going on with me, but I think I'm not having a good health. I just need to check myself. Have a wonderful, prosperous New Year's.
We wanted to share that because what Nora's message is, even though her family lost 19 homes, she still knew to check in when she needed support and help. So this was her message to the room full of Lahaina Honolua seniors in their club meeting. And I was hoping that that message could also carry to all of you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a very full agenda. We have debris clearing. You're going to hear from your favorite director, Shane Agawa. Please don't tell the other directors that he's your favorite. We're going to hear a little bit about an SMA permitting update. We promised you information on the community input to the county's long-term recovery plan. Kate Blystone and Jen Maiden are back from our team from Office of Recovery and the Planning Department. We invited our friends from Ho'ola Ia Maui Akama, the Disaster Long-Term Recovery Group, and the Mennonite Disaster Service to talk about their programs for rebuilding Lahaina. And then I know you had a question about DLNR Dobar, about the anchoring of ships off island and the status of harbor. So with us tonight is Paul Sensano, who will be here to offer that information and update. We invited him on your behalf. Coming up, no meetings December 18 and 25. Like I said, we'll be back January 8th. We will resume then, and the focus at that meeting will be Hawaiian Electric. We'll have an update on infrastructure, and you'll get to learn more about the federal funding we call CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief Money. That's making its way to Congress. So it's a very important package. So we're bringing the manager who oversees that funding that we're attempting to get allocated to us. And finally, looking ahead, from January, last week I said, what meeting number was that? 42? 42 last week. So starting January 8th, we are going to move to a monthly meeting so that we can focus on rebuild information. All year, for about a year now, we've been offering a chance to convene, bring community people together, bring our state and federal partners together. Next year on, we're going to move forward with recovery and rebuilding information, a little more focused. So it'll be the first Wednesday of the month, unless it's a holiday, and then we'll move it. And then on the third Wednesday of the month, we'll be holding a virtual community meeting. That way you can turn in your questions, a webinar, like how we've been doing before. Turn in your questions, our team can prepare better, and then offer that kind of information. So we're going to do it both ways so that those off-island can also participate more actively. All right, so that is how we're going to move forward in 2025, the best way to try to serve you with that. Our recovery office will stay open, so that's a resource. And in between meetings and throughout, anytime we can, we'll be offering some information videos to just keep putting information out there anything that we feel has come forward or you want to learn more about, we'll go chase them. Normally we invite them to a meeting. This time we're going to have them go ahead and create an information video so you can go back to it anytime. I'm going to turn this over after that lengthy announcement to Mayor.
Aloha mai kako, Lahaina. The first thing that I think is important is to give you an update on Vanessa. Vanessa and Carl were sitting right behind where Maka is right now last week, Wednesday, and people had questions. Now, I'm trying to be real careful not to violate HIPAA by giving out too much medical information, so please excuse me on that. But we're competing with somebody else also at the same time. So let me just say, she is fine, and she is back at work, and she's back at her routine. So they did go to ER. She got a lot of rest. She got fluids, something for nausea, and then she was back to her regular routine. So Carl Kobayashi, I had called him after to find out how she was, and he sent me this text to let me know. So I know some of you were concerned about how that sort of ended. So I just wanted to give you that update because I think that's probably the most important thing to talk about tonight is the health of your community and one of your members here. I just wanted to share a couple of things. The governor put out his emergency proclamation, maybe it was last week already. And one of the things he did was waived the school impact fee, the DOE school impact fee for all of West Maui. So if you're impacted by, there were a lot of questions a couple meetings ago about what is that fee and how come we have to do it. It's an old law that's been on the books, but in his latest, when the governor does an emergency proclamation, what happens is he asks for input from our county, and all of our different departments, all of our directors are asked to give information that they think might be of help. So anyway, he included that in there, and so that's all of West Maui is excluded from that impact fee. I'm going to let others talk more about the SMA part that's also included, again, at the request of planning and recovery, maybe both, maybe it's just planning. So you guys can ask questions more about that later too. So I just wanted to give you those couple of updates, and what I'm going to do now is turn this over to your council member, Tamar Paulton. Thank you. Huh? Oh, sorry. Which ones? Oh, okay, sorry. I forgot to mention something else. Sorry, council member. Actually, this is reminding me of another thing. At that Kupuna luncheon that you just heard Nora speaking at, I announced last year, right after the fires, maybe in September, October, November, during that time, the county used our community development block grant funds that we had already had, not the disaster relief funds, just our ordinary funds that we get from the federal government. We purchased seven units for Kupuna, and those 7 units, 5 of them are in Lahaina, one's in Kihei, and one's in Central Maui. That's available for any senior over 62 years of age. They're studios, they're 1-bedrooms, and there has been a sign-up list. The Cameron Center is the agency that agreed to be our managers of those properties. So they're owned by the county. They're going to be managed by Cameron Center. They're specifically for Kupuna. I can tell you a lot about the background, how we acquired those, but it was very, very nice landowners and apartment owners who decided to sell them to the county. And again, we grabbed them up so we could have housing for seniors. So if you're 62 years of age or older, right now I understand there's 64 people on the sign-up list that have put in. The minimum rent's going to be $300, and the highest amount of rent will be 30% of your income, and whatever that is for each individual. So again, if you're interested and if you're eligible and available for those units. But on top of that, we got to be present. You know, when somebody gets to move into their home, in my opinion, that's a very personal time for them. That's just limited to family. But we were allowed to be present at both up in Kahoma on, Komomai Street. The first family in Lahaina that completed their home are the He family here. And Ocean Water guy, Mao, many of you know his dad or know his whole family, Snake, his dad. Anyway, their family allowed us to be part of their blessing and getting their permit to occupy and be able to be in their home along with their 2 young sons. And then above, or maybe to the right, I should say, is this is Tom Liu. Tom Liu is the first homeowner to move into Kula. That's his cottage that he just completed. This was the week following. He's also working on his main home, but he also invited us or allowed us to be part of his blessing that took place. So I just wanted to share with you some of the progress that's happened. Sorry. Okay. These are our families that moved into the Kilohana project. I think you folks know Kala'iola, the first families moved in on August 9th and 10th. They were given their keys. This is the federal project that's located, to the right of the Kala'iola project. So Kilohana, the first family, moved in there as well. I want to say 2 weeks ago now. And in fact, it was the same day that Tom moved into his home. And so a lot of folks being able to move into other homes. So thank you. Your council member, Tamara Paulton.
Thank you. Aloha mai kako. I'll just keep it short and sweet. Last week, I think Friday, we passed first reading of the updated fire code. And so it has one more reading to go. I was a little concerned, but I did have a talk with the battalion chief, Otsubo, and we're going to work on in the new year trying to put together a hardship fund, because if everybody has to cut their trees 5 feet away from their roof line, it could cost money. It's going to cost money either way, whether it's in fines or tree trimming services. But it is a complaint-based rule code. So there's that. And then the second part is this 13th, Friday the 13th, we're having a council meeting and public hearing for Wailea 670. I would say don't give up till the end. There's still a chance to get those 450 affordable units. We got some tricks up our sleeve. We'll just see if they play out. So if you want to testify, you can. If not, don't worry about it. Thanks.
Aloha, everyone. FEMA received a question last week regarding personal debris removal, and I did want to reassure everyone that there is a process in place. There is a debris call center, and Colonel Jones is going to give you the number, but I did say I would come back here and address that. So I'm going to pass it over to Colonel Jones, and he's going to give you a number that you can call if you have any issues or questions regarding your personal debris removal. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Aloha. All right, we'll start with just an update on our call center. Just to remind everyone, we do have 2 phone numbers you can use to reach our USACE call center. And that's there for you if you have any questions about how debris removal was done on your property. And then if it does warrant a follow-up when you call in, we are a smaller crew these days. We typically can get out and do a site visit within a week. So those numbers are 877-214-9117, and that number's on the every TM case sign as well. And then the other phone number is 808-289-1805. And that 808 number is the number we'll use to call you back. So if you see that number, we're returning your call if you end up leaving a voicemail. And then as always, after this meeting, we're here to discuss any concerns on specific items. Just real quick, so we made a lot of progress this week on debris removal. Doesn't necessarily show up in the numbers. We did move up to 140 out of 148 properties clear, so that's 95% cleared. And then 129 properties of those are completed for 87% completion status. We expect to clear all properties except for maybe 4 by the end of the month, and then in January, 3 of those 4 or so will be cleared, and then 1 property in February. We do anticipate hitting 100% completion by the end of February. All right, thanks. And then the only other note I wanted to share about debris removal is recently the state and county had a request in to FEMA for approval of the columns in the 700 and 800 block of Front Street there that are still there from the properties that we've cleared and completed. And so that request went in, and FEMA's approved the removal of those under the debris removal program. So over the next several months, you'll see us working with state and county on how we're going to do that. And then later this summer, if everything goes as planned, we'll remove those columns and pilings. But that's all I have for an update, pretty quick. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shane Agawa, Director of Environmental Management. I don't know if I'm your favorite director, but we have a whole line of great directors and deputies. I just think I get home court advantage on them. So tonight we're just gonna just give you some updates on wastewater. So you folks are familiar with these maps. This is on MauiRecovers.org. You can go to the wastewater tab, find the map. The before and after, red does not have sewer service, so this is in the Kuhua Camp area. Recent repairs, we got 30 lots back on sewer service in this area. These lots are along Aki Street and Kauhi Place. I know a lot of you have been seeing updates in the Kuhua Camp area. I just want to let you folks know that's not the only area that we're doing work at. We are working on other areas. Our contractor is working on other areas. So I'll just give you some brief updates of what those areas are. So in the area of Luakini Street and Prison, our contractor recently completed the repairs there down to Front Street. They're currently working on repairs along Front Street between the old Kamehameha Third School and the pump station number 5, which is near 505 Front Street, the corner of Shaw and Front. That's the trunk line. We anticipate those repairs to be completed before Christmas, so right around the corner. When that trunk line gets back on service, you're going to see a lot of green start happening in that box between Kinley Street and Shaw Street. So just be patient with us. Our contractor, our in-house personnel are working very hard to get wastewater back on. And from the last meeting, I did not attend. However, I was made aware that there was some questions from the community, so I'd like to address them right now. So the first question was, can we rebuild even if sewer is not yet active? The answer is yes. You can start to rebuild, provided you have an approved building permit. Now, I must let you know that if your sewer is red on the map, you can continue to build. However, the final inspection approval on your build will not be approved until your sewer service is green on the map. And then you must notify Wastewater Reclamation Division for an inspection to happen when you tie into the cleanout to the county system. But you are able to rebuild before your sewer service is turned green. Next question, can permits be issued for homes that are scheduled to connect to the sewer system that is going in, even though it is not running? Again, the answer is yes. Permits can be issued if you don't have sewer service. However, as I mentioned in the first question, you will not be granted final approval on your build until your wastewater service is turned back on and you connect. I wasn't sure if this question was directed at any area of Lahaina. It is a little bit different for Wahikuli. So in Wahikuli, if you have a cesspool, per the DOH guidance, if your cesspool passes certification, you can tie in back to your cesspool. And I must make it clear that when the sewer system in the future comes in, then you'll be required to tie into the county sewer system. Third question was communications about how to start trash collection service. So our solid waste division, as you know, has been servicing residents with trash refuse collection. So if you are rebuilding and you intend to either start or restart your refuse collection service, you need to call the Solid Waste Fiscal Section at 808-270-7720. Again, that is 808-270-7720. And there's a few steps that Solid Waste Division needs to do before we actually start servicing your property again with refuse. They need to see if the streets are accessible by our trucks, et cetera, et cetera. And the last question is Wahikuli follow-up needed? Again, I don't know what the exact context of this question was. However, to provide you an update about Wahikuli, DEM and wastewater does have a meeting scheduled for December 16th, which is Monday, with the EPA. They are going to give us updates on the sewer design that is occurring right now. Once we have updated information, we can come back at one of the future community meetings, give you an update, or we can, well, we also plan to put it on the Maui covers. There's a Wahikuli sewer system update portion under wastewater. So just keep checking in on that, and we'll be providing updates as we progress with the design. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mahalo. So I'm Kate Blystone. I'm the director of the planning department. And before we talk about long-term recovery plan, I'm going to just give you an update on the emergency proclamation from the governor and a change that came for SMA. So you may know that in previous versions of the emergency proclamation, there was an exemption from SMA for multifamily outside of the shoreline. And so what the new emergency proclamation says is it makes it very clear that it's outside of the shoreline, but it also exempts single family homes. So if you were eligible for the SMXF process, does anyone remember me talking about that? If you were eligible for that, you are now no longer necessary, it's no longer necessary for you to go through the SMA process. So you're exempt. If you have an SMA or SMXF application in process with us right now, we are closing those out. So you'll get a letter from us that says you don't need to do this anymore, and we're going to refund your application fee. So there's about 50 of you in that process right now. So that's the good news for you guys, is that you'll be able to go through the process much more quickly if you were in the SMA and you were eligible for that SMXF process. And if you have questions about that after the meeting, I'm happy to answer any questions. You can come talk to me or even during the Q&A. But if you were eligible for that, all you need to do is go through the building permit process for your single family home. So we hope that helps. But let's get on to the long-term recovery plan. So I've been here to talk about this. Jen's been here to talk about this. Let's just go through it real quick. We just completed the community engagement portion of the long-term recovery plan, so I want to talk to you a little bit about where we're headed, and Jen's going to talk about the results from that. First, just as a reminder, the long-term recovery plan is built on a community-driven process, and it gives us our roadmap to recovery. It's projects and programs with a timeline that tell us that basically it's a list of the things we're going to do to rebuild Lahaina. And those projects and programs in this plan lead us to the funding that we need to get those projects done, like the CDBG-DR funding that Mahina mentioned. So really the purpose is to identify projects and programs to reach our goals. It is our guide for recovery going forward, and it includes state, county, and private projects. So it's all of us. It's one plan for the entire recovery process. But it's important to keep in mind that it's a snapshot in time, that this is a living plan, that there's no final long-term recovery plan, that as we learn about new projects, as we learn about new needs, we'll update the plan. As we finish things, we'll update the plan. As we make adjustments to these projects or programs, we'll update the plan. So community engagement has been the backbone of everything that we've done for this long-term recovery plan. Talking to you is critical to know how we need to go forward. So thank you for everyone who participated in this process. And when you look at this plan, when it's published, I think we're going for before Christmas, where it'll be before Christmas. You should see your voices in this plan. And if you wonder where your voices are, you can snap this QR code and see our community engagement
report that we did for the first part of the process, and then it's going to be updated with this new information. So across our entire community engagement, now this has been updated. Many of you have seen this slide before, but since our last community engagement effort, we've engaged more than 4,000 people across 12 different activities. We did 5 neighborhood workshops that resulted in 900 participants. We did 3 surveys, and 3 surveys are critical. These 3 surveys are critical because they involve the people that were no longer here. It involved people who don't have time to go to a public meeting. So that's why those were critical, and we got 2,700 respondents to that. We also did 190 one-on-one interviews to get people's voices who are less tech savvy, people who wanted to just talk story with us. And in the long-term recovery plan open house process, and thank you to everyone for showing up to that, we had 300 more voices involved in that. So that's where those numbers come from. For a deep dive on the feedback, I'm gonna give this to Jen.
Aloha. I'm not here as often as Kate, but again, I'm Jen Maiden with the Office of Recovery, and I'm behind the scenes a lot with the stuff Kate comes and reports on. So just sharing for the open houses that we did, 2 in-person open houses, and then we had an online activity on Ola Lahaina. So just to give a bit of a summary of the feedback that we heard from your community. So we asked 2 questions in our open house. We asked, do the projects as a whole meet the community's long-term recovery needs? And are there any projects needed for long-term recovery that are missing from the plan? So what we heard on the first question, do these projects as a whole meet your long-term recovery needs? We kind of heard 50-50. Yes, and no, I don't know, I just want to tell you other things. So that's great. Half the people said, yes, this is great, let's do it. For the folks who told us no or I'm not sure, it was for a number of reasons. Sometimes people said, well, I actually didn't even get through the whole plan, but this is what's important to me. And so we reviewed the feedback, and okay, what the person said, that is a project. Or we had projects in the body of the plan and in the appendix, and there was confusion over that. Or sometimes people they said, this needs to be done, and it was integrated into a project, and maybe they didn't quite see it. So our takeaway from that, really, we need some more project description details. People really want to know, what are these projects? What are all the details? Because some of them are pretty meaty. And we also heard some concern and input on timing of the projects. There's short, mid, and long term as far as projected project completion. And there was questions about, is this realistic? Should this be a short-term project? So we took that feedback, and about the appendix projects, confusion over the body and the appendix. To the second question, are there any projects missing that are needed for long-term recovery? And that was an open-ended question, so we got a lot of feedback there. Ultimately, we heard that there wasn't projects missing. People just wanted a lot more details and wanted to get going and wanted to get involved. So we take that really as good feedback, that you want to get going, get this stuff done, get these projects rolling. So we took it, more details on the projects, information on timelines and the interconnections between projects, as well as we really heard a lot of expectation for ongoing community engagement as the projects go forward. So your feedback really does shape the long-term recovery plan, and so some changes going into the revised plan is that all projects, all 40 projects, are just going to be featured in the body of the plan. No confusion with the appendix, 40 full feature projects. Clarity on timeframes of estimated project completion, where we can be clearer on what that means. And we also added public participation level for each project. So going forward with the projects, you can have a level of understanding. Is this project, is it just going to be, are we just going to inform you of what's going on? Or is it going to be more in-depth consultation and collaboration going forward? So you can kind of expect how to get involved with the projects. And identifying the interconnections between projects a little better as we can, as well as additional project details where we can. A lot of the projects need to get going, and we don't know all of the details now. So next. So as Kate said, the plan really is a living document. It's a snapshot in time. So it's not a polished plan, but it is a guide for us for recovery. So the Office of Recovery will work with the various project leads to keep track of implementation of the recovery projects. We will provide updates on the progress of implementation via Maui Recovers, Ola Lahaina, and other ways. And projects will be modified as recovery needs change, there's changing conditions, maybe funding available, and community feedback. And the overall plan will be updated at logical intervals. And just basically going forward, we will have the plan available before the end of the year, before the holidays is my goal, available on Ola Lahaina. We are working on building out project pages for each of the 40 projects on Ola Lahaina, so that can be your go-to place. Anytime you want to know what's going on with a recovery project, Ola Lahaina, and then we'll be building out those project pages for each project in the new year. And then just engagement going forward with the projects. They'll be at their own paces, they'll have their project leads, but look to Ola Lahaina as your place for what's going on with the project and how do I get involved. So, mahalo.
Okay, at this time, we're going to call up our guests here. I think they have, I'm not sure who's going to go first, Rhonda? Okay.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Rhonda Alexander Moncrist. I live up country, and for the last year, I've been volunteering with Ho'ola Maui Akama Disaster Long-Term Recovery Group. This group consists of 15 board members as well as 20 or 30 additional volunteers that sit on different committees. And our mission is to assist each of you individually and help you with your recovery plans. And so we invite you to visit our website, maui-longtermrecovery.com. These are some of the different committees that we have. And so for anyone who represents organizations within the community that would like to get involved, we invite you to reach out to us. The three main committees and the services that are being offered and shared with you tonight has to do with the volunteer committee, the donations committee, the construction committee, and our resources roundtable. So our resources roundtable is meant if any of you at some point during your rebuild process have unmet needs, and let's say you have a gap in funding, then you would be able to come through the resources roundtable to ask for financial assistance. And you do that through the DCM program. So the DCMs are the ones that present your case anonymously to the 12 to 14 funders that we have sitting at the table, who are the ones that make the decision as to whether or not, based upon their funding guidelines, if they can provide support. So we wanted to be able to share that with you now because a lot of you are going through the rebuild process and trying to figure things out. Some of the projections here and the numbers which has guided our plans overall is we took a look at tax records and determined that of the 1,355 single-family homes that were impacted, about 627 were owner-occupied homes, and that's our focus. So our focus for the next 5 years is to figure out how to help each one of the 627 to rebuild within that time frame. And to be able to do that, we had to do an assessment of what was the average mortgage balance, which was about $509,000. Working with our Rebuild Navigative partner, Hawaii Community Lending, they were able to do an analysis and determine that of the clients that have registered with them, about 35% could be possibly have a potential for foreclosure. So they have a lot of programs to offer assistance to anyone who falls into that category. So we encourage each of you to sign up with Hawaii Community Lending to do the financial assessment with them. And because when you do the financial assessment with them, It also allows you to qualify for some volunteer rebuild teams. And tonight we have one of our rebuild team partners, the Mennonite Disaster Service, that is here with us to share a little bit about themselves. And we're getting ready to launch within the next few months access for any of you who might be interested in receiving the services. So using the Mennonites to rebuild your home would save you about 50% of the rebuild costs. So that's kind of the motivation and what you'll have access to. If you are if you're a homeowner who also needs assistance with building materials, then our team that's here tonight can help to assess that and determine whether we can solicit donations nationally or through other sources to help defray those expenses as well. Also want to encourage you, if you haven't, to consider applying for the SBA loan. So we've been working closely with SBA and Hawaii Community Lending and applying for the loan and determining whether or not that loan can assist you and your family is one of the criteria that we look at before you can come to the Resources Roundtable to ask for money. So we have to show evidence that you've been able to exhaust all resources before coming forward to ask. And I think that's it on my side. So I wanted to introduce, we have the Mennonite team that's here. The person that's going to introduce who they are and what they do is Don Reinheimer.
Thank you very much. Aloha, and it's good to be here this evening because I have been with you on live stream for a number of weeks, so it's good to be here in person this week. I do want to say a bit about Mennonite Disaster Service. Am I going backwards here? Did you have another slide? There we go. We are a faith-based group, organization, and among a number of Mennonite and like-minded churches indicated by the cross, but also an organization who has understood for a long time that we are in partnership with many other people as we enter to rebuild in disaster zones and disaster areas and to work with survivors. Those can be nonprofits, they can be government agencies. We worked a lot with FEMA, NGOs, and various local organizations. And so we often work in partnership. So while at the core we're a faith-based organization who gives compassionate service as an ideal, at the local level, as the volunteers gather, we have a broad range of volunteers who enter into the rebuilding process. We're an organization that's about 75 years old. It started with an idea from a group of people that just said, let's get together and do some work. Let's help out our neighbors that were affected by disaster. And in February of next year, we'll celebrate 75 years of existence. During that time, we also partnered with BOAD when it first began 50 years ago, and our executive director currently serves as the treasurer for BOAD National. And so we have this strong connection with other partners as well. We are active in both 4 regions in the United States. We're here in the western region, the western states and territories, and then also the 5th region is in Canada. And we've had a number of Canadian volunteers working with us. We respond to disasters, we rebuild homes, we restore hope by organizing and empowering volunteers. Volunteers who build and repair is our stock in trade. We don't do funding of materials. We look to other sources for that. But we do have some pillars that we rely on as we prepare to go into a site. We need to get our funding together. We want to be sure that those that we're serving have their funding together for materials. We want to be doing meaningful work. We're not just putting up towel holders. We're repairing roofs. We're building whole houses. And in fact, we have a prepared set of plans that we have sent and have been reviewed, all the way from 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom to 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom homes. some even occasionally 4-bedroom, 2 bathrooms. So a wide variety. They had been and are continually being reviewed in whatever location we go into to make sure that they meet code, but also safety standards for that area. And then finally, and this is the one, volunteers. We have not had a problem getting volunteers to volunteer to come to Maui at this point. We have a good waiting list. And then the final one is accommodations. So we, like all of you, are looking for a place to stay. We are in the process of looking at a variety of places where we could set up a volunteer camp and have a place where we can feed and house volunteers, not only the shorter-term volunteers currently working in 2-week shifts, but the long-term volunteers who are here for months at a time and providing leadership and oversight for the building process. And then just to say that currently we are working in a temporary housing site that some of you may be aware of over at Ahana Hope Village in Kahului. It's a piece of property that's right across from King's Cathedral there, and helping them to get those units and pods in working order. They have a few people there who were residents of Lahaina. They want to get many more of those units online for people to be able to move into. So we're working hard at that. And I want to introduce Paul and Lisa Schambach, who currently are the long-term leadership volunteers for that project. And then every 2 weeks, we've been bringing in about 10 volunteers to work daily on that. And they'll be leaving tomorrow for a family break to upstate New York to go back with family. And then we're going to start again mid-January for about 2.5 months, and hopefully help them finish that project over there. So as I was talking about the process for how we work, and I'll let Rhonda say another word about that. We don't have preset criteria, but we know that we always serve particularly underinsured or uninsured families, owners, homeowners who have experienced loss. And so rather than have a preset set of criteria, we count on the disaster case managers to bring cases not to us but to the long-term recovery group. And then we work with the long-term recovery group in every location. We're going to have 12 sites in mainland going, and then this continuing one here in Hawaii this winter that we'll be working at. And so she'll just say, I'll turn it to you, Rhonda, and you can just say a word about how you see that process functioning.
Thank you, Don. So next year, the Mennonites plan on building 5 to 10 homes and offering that to families who qualify. And how would you qualify? Go and sign up with Hawaii Community Lending. Let them do that financial assessment piece for you, and then we'll be leaning on their recommendations for those first 5 to 10 families for next year. The plan is to do this for the next 5 years, so we'll increase from 5 to 10 in year 1 to maybe 15 to 25 homes in year 2, 3, 4, and 5. Over a 5-year window, we're looking through volunteer teams with the Mennonites, with also the Presbyterian Disaster Assistance and UMCOR, building a total of 150 homes through the graciousness of these volunteers. So we're super excited to be able to share this with you tonight and the opportunities that lie ahead, and we ask you to please come forward, ask questions, and seek help through our partners, Hawaii Community Lending. Mahalo.
Thank you, Rhonda and Don. Here's their website, mds.org. And again, this is a community-built, community-driven, nonprofit collective that is stepping forward. So we'll take it all. It's meant to supplement all efforts. I'm going to turn this over to Paul Sensano, who is the Maui District Manager for DLNR's Division of Boating and Recreation. I'm not sure, is Finn here? Finn? Oh, okay.
Aloha ahi ahi. My name is Paul Sonsano. I'm with the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Boating and Ocean Recreation. Tonight I have with me our backbone of the Lahaina community in our boating and ocean division out here in Mala right now is Daynette Flores. So I get, Mahina called and she said that there was a question regarding the offshore mooring. So I'll just get to that. At the present time, we have 61 offshore moorings located on the west side, 30 in Lahaina offshore, 16 off of Mala, and 15 off of Kaanapali. It's not a free-for-all, although it would seem like it at times, but we do have a process for vessels that are coming from wherever, Big Island, Oahu, Kauai. They come here, and if they want an offshore mooring, they apply through the Army Corps of Engineers and then also through our DLNR engineering branch, and they apply for an offshore mooring, which consists of an engineer that they hire, and during that process, they determine the size of the vessel, its draft, its weight, the depth of the water, and then the engineer figures out the best anchorage system for that vessel to make sure that it stays in place. But we do have a lot of people that come in that are illegal. Fortunately, Maui Waters has had a record of claiming those vessels that are here illegally, and of course then we end up paying for it because we end up removing grounded vessels from the shoreline of Maui, which is difficult. We have a good staff. I support my staff, but we have dwindled from 15 to 11. And so as we look forward in moving to 2025, it is going to be initially a tough goal, but we're going to get there. You know, we're going to get there through the hiring process, and our staff is shifting because we've had people that were here in Mala that also lost their homes and families in Lahaina fire. And so they've been trying to adapt to the changes and moving to the Wailuku side. Some have resigned and finding different lives elsewhere, mainland, you know, just to be with their families, bring everybody together. So that's where we're at on the offshore mooring. You guys can ask me questions if you want to after the meeting regarding other things. And I'll just go quickly to the update. Anyway, if you guys are interested, there is a link, and that's the link is up on the screen, and that link will take you to our Lahaina Harbor Rebuild updates, and the first one that we have on there is from September. The second one is from December 3rd, 2024. If you don't mind, I'm just going to read it off on the paper because it's easier and just, you know, it's to the point, yeah. So number one, the Mala boat ramp, the temporary harbor office has been installed, and it's a 40-foot trailer container that sits by the restrooms there at Mala. The installation was completed and opened in April of 2024, and its cost was approximately $158,000, and the source of the funding was from the boating special funds. Number two, Lahaina Small Boat Harbor removal of piles and anchors. That was recently done, removing the steel piles and the concrete mooring blocks from the harbor. The project was completed in June of 2024, and that cost, of course, was $691,000, and the source of the funds is from our boating special fund. Number three, the Lahaina Small Boat Harbor main loading pier fender repairs because it did suffer some damage. The ferry pier, not so much damage, but it still needs to be repaired and replaced. Some parts of it need to be repaired. But the fender piers, of course, all melted, so they had to be replaced. There was a change order at the input from harbor users, and so we added another layer of the fiberglass decking to the sides of the pier. The completion for that is going to be December 2024. The cost to replace that pier was $653,634. So quite a lot of money. Funding is not something that we get easily, and so it's difficult to move on without the funds. And hopefully our Madam Chair and our administration will be able to convince the governor to get us some money to be able to finish these jobs, at least get them started. Number 4, Lahaina Smallboat Harbor Water System Leak Assessment and Repairs. The bids received and contract awarded in October. The work is to begin November 2024. Estimated completion date is February of 2025. The cost for that project is $969,000. Again, the source is the special boating funds. Number 5, Mala Boat Ramp Dredging. This is with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The permit is submitted as of November 2024, and its estimated completion is September of 2025. The estimated cost of this project is $1.5 million. Number 6, the Lahaina Smallboat Harbor Dredging. Anticipated submittal, it hasn't been submitted yet, but the Army Corps of Engineers permit application by the end of December 2024. So in a couple weeks, the estimated completion is to be determined. And the funds needed for this job is roughly $5 million. Okay, number 7, Lahaina Smallboat Harbor Front Row Piers and Dinghy Dock. Design and permitting is ongoing. Preliminary layout of the new docks and moorings have been completed. Legislative funding, $3.7 million already appropriated for construction. However, actual cost anticipated is anticipated to exceed available funding. So estimated completion of this project is September of 2026, subject to available funding. Additional funds likely needed will be estimated at about $6.5 million. Number 8, Lahaina Smallboat Harbor Intermarginal Wharf, awaiting governor's approval for contract modification with consultants for design of new piles, modification of gangways, and renewal of permits. Existing contract for $1.5 million already in effect. Prior to the August 2023 wildfires, a supplemental contract needed for installation of new piles and gangway modifications. So just to let you guys know that with the steps of all these projects, as we move forward with the comments from the community, these plans are always changing. And so we've got to go back to the planning board and figure out if we're going to make changes, what kind of changes are going to be made, and then put a figure to the cost of these changes. And basically that was it. The Lahaina Smallboat Harbor Outer Marginal Wharf, estimated completion to be determined, and the funds needed, estimated cost is $8 million for this project. So lots of money. I don't have a tip jar up here. But like I said, we're going to get there. I'm sure we're going to get there. We're coming up to the end of a hard year and going to start the beginning of a new year, and going to hope for everyone affected by these fires that it all turns out well for us as we move forward. Okay, just one other last thing. The latest update is with regards to the blocking of roads and our access to the Lahaina Smallboat Harbor. Last week, there are a lot of things that came down the pipe for us, and so I can't expand on the discussion that was had today with Madam Chair and the Attorney Generals. But within the next couple of days and next week, we're going to have, I think, a pretty good directive as to the questions that were raised. And just so you guys know, dealing with an injunction for commercial boat operations and just a bunch of other things. So, and that's it for dealing our boating and ocean recreation. My number at Maui Smallboat Harbor is 808-243-5899. And of course, most of you know how to get a hold of Daynette. Her character and personality is the best I can explain. That explains DLNR boating and ocean recreation. She's a good face for us with our staff here in Lahaina and Mala. Okay, thank you very much.
He has an interesting background related to Kalaupapa, so I was just going to say that, but I want him to tell what he did on Kalaupapa so you understand who Paul Sensano is.
So anyway, we're often invited, our group was often invited to go to Kalaupapa, and what we did is we helped one of the patients when it came to his Halloween party that he made for all the patients there. So we helped cook and decorate and things like that. And I go back to Kalaupapa through my great-great-grandfather who was born to Kokua that remained there to help patients. And his son, or my great-grandfather, was young and didn't have the leprosy, so he was sent topside, adopted by William W. Weed, who was a farrier at Kalaupapa. And then he went to Haleiwa, and that's where our family started. 19 kids in the family. And then, of course, my grandmother was one of those 19. She had 12 of her own. So our family kind of expanded from Kalaupapa. And every time we've gone back there, I've always sought to reach out for my great-grandparents, not knowing who they were. And recently I just figured, well, you know what? I'm not really going to push it, because the day that my Creator says, time for you to come and stay here, I know that's the first people that I'm going to see are going to be my family from Kalaupapa. Thank you.
Mahalo, Paul. I wanted him to share that because, you know, it's such a small town in Lahaina, but it remains small no matter what. So many of you know Paul from his DLNR, you know, Dobar work, but there really is a person, you know, connected to him that is so rich. That's actually how I know him, from our joint work on Kalaupapa with our families connected to Kalaupapa. So we are going to go ahead and thank you all for your patience. So much information whenever we convene these meetings. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that last time there was a question about the post office, or postal service, I should say. So, wow, some hard yet to get to the federal government. So we tried and tried. We made it through the district office. I do expect to have a little bit more insight, but unfortunately it couldn't be done in time for tonight's meeting. But we have conveyed the concerns with Postal Service and the complications that you all are facing. So we'll try to bring that to the surface sooner than later as best we can. John Smith, you know, you all met him last week. He'll be back in January. Don't worry, he's not here tonight because you chased him away. He did say he'll be back in January when he actually begins his work. He had other commitments this month. And I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that this Saturday is the return of high school canoe paddling to Lahaina. So the MIL will be hosting the season kickoff regatta at Hanakao'o. It'll be hosted by Lahaina Luna and Maui Prep Academy. There are 13 high schools that compete in the season this year, so it's a pretty full one. So that's what's going on at the beach when you see lots of people there this Saturday. So avoid the traffic. Gonna be a little bit difficult sometimes. The regatta starts at 9 a.m. and lasts about a half day. All right, our folks are here. All of the presenters are available along with Four Leaf. I saw Shayna somewhere. Okay, Four Leaf is here. FEMA is here as well as our team. So I'll have Morris and maybe Cynthia can grab a mic. I have the second mic here. I'm gonna move to this one. All right. Okay, so we'll go for a little bit and we'll ask some questions, and then as usual, our team are here. So I ask that you raise your hand if you have a question for our folks. Uncle, go ahead. We'll start with Uncle right here first, and then we'll go to that side.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sensano. You have enlightened part of my questions, but for the boats that are mooring out in the front of Lahaina, what kind of anchorage do they have? Is it chain anchorage that drag around along and on the reef, or is it anchorage that keep the boats in place without the slack?
Thanks for the question, Anakala. The anchorage has changed over time within the past year. The structural engineers have developed a system that is basically coming off the bottom of a block, and then it's coming up with rope and subwater. There's a subwater buoy that keeps the rope taut, and then from the top of that buoy, we have chain coming up to the line, so that the rope is never slacked. It's always going to be tight. When you have the chain in the water and it's moving up and down, the first parts to go are always going to be by the link, yeah, because the links rub against each other and it becomes metal toothpicks in no time at all. You know, it just wears out very thin. So that is the design. If you're interested, you can come and see me. I can show you on the plans exactly what the mooring system has been designed to be for our systems here on Maui and Oahu and on the Big Island. It's the same.
Okay, because my concern was that, was it damaging the reef? You know how the commercial or conventional anchor drops and you give the slack with the chain?
Yeah, it may have been that way before, and that's why we went to like a day-use mooring. So when vessels go out there, they're not dropping their anchor. You know, it's day-use moorings or buoys that were set in place, coming up with a set system. So as they go out to like a dive site or out into ocean for scuba or snorkeling, they can just tie onto the buoy and then they're set until they gather all their people and then get back to the harbor.
Okay, so in terms, it's safe for the reef then?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, that's the main thing that I was concerned, because that is the juvenile area where the little fishes grow and up the food chain.
Correct.
Yeah, so
the anchor system also does, you know, the fads that are set up around the island, even the anchors, you know, they do attract the smaller fish, which attracts the larger fish, which attracts the pelagic fishes that come around. Yeah, so it serves a purpose. Yeah.
But thank you for that information.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, I can sleep now.
All right, looks like we're going to be running one microphone tonight. So Morris, you're going to get some mileage. We'll go that way, and then I know there was one in the middle. Go ahead, sir, with your question.
Okay, this is actually a question for our mayor. Maui is a pearl of the Hawaiian Islands. Very best place in the world to live. And Lahaina is a pearl of Maui. And Lahaina's always been the pearl because of our fabulous weather, and we're protected from our winds, trade winds. For those of you who drove over from the other side today, you probably felt your car bouncing back and forth. King Kamehameha appreciated the value of Lahaina. That's why Lahaina was made capital of the Hawaiian Islands between 1840 and 1860. And King Kamehameha invited many of the Westerners to help support his efforts to unite the Hawaiian Islands. Our harbor is currently unusable. The loading dock is totally usable, but the issue we have is getting access to our harbor. So many of our young people have been forced to leave because there are no jobs. Tourism drives Maui. I drove the Molokai Ferry for 30 years. I saw how important it was to have fresh money coming into our community. tourism on Maui is down 25 to 30%. I love tourists. They come spend their money and they leave. But we need to get our Lahaina Harbor operational. Mayor, we need access, maybe down Prison Street, to our harbor as soon as possible. So many of our harbor workers have been forced to move to Oahu or to the mainland. They can't wait any longer. They've run out of money. I beg you to make every effort to open up an access corridor to Lahaina Harbor. Lahaina Harbor can be rebuilt in stages, but right now, today, our loading dock is perfectly usable, and people traveling on our ferry between Lanai and Lahaina have to make the extra effort because of Malaya. It's much further. Also, the congestion in Malaya is really tough. The sooner we had access to Lahaina Harbor, we could be using our loading dock. The ferry could operate and some of the offshore boats could operate. But the roadblock right now is access, and that's under your control. So please do something for us.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to let Mayor respond and give him the mic.
Most of what you just said is absolutely correct. The only thing I might change is the beauty of Lahaina is its people, not just its landscape. And that's what we're concerned about. Everything we've done from the first day until now has been for the people of Lahaina. So I don't disagree with you that there is an element that definitely wants that access to the harbor. We want that too. The issue for that right now, whether the loading dock is, and I'm not going to name names, but I've had this conversation with other companies that operate vessels out of there. Because of course, they call me and they say what you just said one-on-one as opposed to, this setting. So I'm not going to give their names, but I'll tell you something you can do to help since you've given this a lot of thought. How do we get people in and out of there while we're removing debris, while we're moving large machinery, while we haven't gotten up all of our infrastructure? I'm assuming people are going to need to go to bathrooms. We're not going to have people go and use the parking lot that Lahaina Restoration use, which is the lot that many people use when they go and use the harbor. Because there's no assurance that they're going to walk from the parking lot to the harbor, to the boat, and back to the parking lot. The town is not ready to have people park wherever they want to park so they can get to the boat harbor. It's going to require some kind of shuttle service, like maybe pick up at a place like the Cannery Mall. But I don't see how we, and I'm not the smartest guy in the room, so you guys can ask somebody who does this kind of stuff, what's the best way to get people in and out? If you ask me, the way to make that accessible is get people on a bus or a shuttle from outside of town. They drive there, they get on the ship, or if they come off the ship, they get back on the bus and they drive back out. Because we're responsible for the safety of the people that decide they're going to walk around Lahaina town while they're there and make it a tourist thing. That's the last thing we want right now. That's the last thing I want. It's not that I don't want people to have access to the boat and the harbor. We just got to figure out that middle piece. How to get people in safely and how to get people out safely. And again, I'm happy to have people contribute to solutions on that piece. I'm happy to, because we do think about that, and we have thought about that. And you heard Mr. Sensano talk about, he read the letter that the director wrote back to me, because I'm the one who wrote her the letter that asked her, when can we get that harbor opened? And that was because of a comment that Kai made at the Lahaina budget hearing that we held. For some of you who were there, maybe you weren't there, he stood up for all of you folks here and said, Mayor, I know that's not the county's property or the county's jurisdiction, but can you at least talk to the state? The next day, or maybe the day after that, I wrote that letter to the chair and asked her, we want to know how long it's going to take. She wrote every single one of those items that she said, this is how much it's cost so far, and this is how much it was. And he was pretty close. He said, I think it's going to cost about $30 million was the number he gave. And you heard all the numbers. I know none of you were probably adding it up, but it's pretty close to that. And her basic answer to me was, as soon as we get the money, we will open your harbor. We don't know where the money's going to come from. We don't know how we're going to get it. I had a conversation with the governor, and I wanted to make sure that he knew we were talking about additional funds, that we weren't trying to replace funds that we already have earmarked to come to Lahaina to rebuild homes or to do other things. And to have that say, well, you asked for the harbor, so we're going to give all that money to the harbor and we're going to take it from there. We're not trying to do that, just so you guys understand. We're talking that this is additional funds that we need to get this going. I can just tell you that as off the top of my head, the updates that we've had. Again, anybody with good ideas on how we can shuttle people in and out, I think we can achieve some success by doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for that question. I saw one on that side. Okay, yeah, and then we'll come to the front. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead.
Hi, this question, or actually it's a concern, is for the mayor and maybe Tamara Polton. I understand that the electric company is coming in January, but my house is done. It's been done for 14 days. I can't move in because the electric company, as I've been told by several people, and from Spectrum, the same thing, they don't have our address. Yet I have a temporary power pole on my line, on my property. I can't get the certificate of occupancy. 4Leaf has come every day to want to give it to us, but the power has to be turned on. So I sit here and I wait with a house that's done. So I'm asking for you guys to talk to them. I ask you to educate them. They need to know that I understand I might be one of the first people, but there's probably 52 more behind me coming. And so they shouldn't have to wait 6 to 8 weeks. They need to start putting my address in the system. When you call, they say, we don't have your address. But yet I have a power pole, yet I have a power bill. Spectrum says the same thing. They can't find my address. I'm not on Google Maps. I mean, isn't there a way they could like press new or resurrect? I mean, I was there before. I need some help because I'd like to move in. I'm still paying rent and a mortgage in a house that's done on Komomai Street.
We are going to take that situation. Can you make sure you see Cynthia Lalo, Mayor's Chief of Staff, who is walking towards you so that we can get contact information? We definitely can accelerate that straight to higher ups at Hawaiian Electric. Morris, I see you waving. One was right here. And our incoming, although he's currently anyway with Infrastructure Recovery Administrator Manager John Smith, has been working with Hawaiian Electric consistently. But in that particular case, we can absolutely make the connection with some higher ups to get some support rather than waiting the 6 to 8 weeks. I saw, sir, your question.
Yes, my name's Paul. I'm a military brat. My background is construction development. I was a Sea Scout. My job was a commercial fisherman for we're labeled the Buccaneer, the king of the fleet out of San Francisco. And I worked for an Exco drilling in hard to get places. So I'm just wondering, are we doing everything as safe as we can, like with EPA standards? When we start dredging, yeah, we're bringing up a lot of stuff, and this is all going to come down where you guys place me at down Malaya. Because everything always drifts down north and screws up the surf spots, but then more or less the environmental impact that this does. Because we've been talking about this ever since Victorino and the setback what I looked at out by the firing range. But then, you know, a lot of these people got money invested, and I hope they understand about overflow and backflow devices. And how many layovers can you do before you have to rip up the road? Because we only want to do it once. and I want to make sure about that. I want to make sure that they get all the opportunity and understand what backflushing and all these, because there's just too much money involved. Things got to be Coast Guard approved. And I hate to just, fall on something, because just lately I was on Facebook and I'm computer literate. I have no way of communicating. I had the owner tell me that after the water leak, for me to go out and get the cable going, because I'm behind concrete walls and have no bars, and there's no repeater towers, there's no cell towers, so how can we communicate? It was just like when we were talking with Aku. I'm glad, I'm proud of Aku, because of my background. Because we grew up with pirate stations and community stations in Santa Cruz in the 60s, and everybody's probably around my age, probably 10 or 20 years older, and I'll be turning 65.
So that's a great question about, are we assuring that the environmental regulations are being followed? So I just want to make sure you know that on the dredging and EPA and any of Army Corps work, they are following regulations. They've been doing so since the beginning. So I just want to offer that reassurance. So I think that's a great question to ask.
Because the most thing is, when you dredge, what are you dredging for? How deep? How big of a boat? How many tons can that mooring hold?
Right. So, thank you. We'll go ahead and take another question. I saw right behind us, gentleman. Go ahead, sir.
Hi. Aloha.
Aloha.
Everyone here is suffering different levels of pain and loss. And my issue is for 6 months I volunteered at the Hanakawai Hub. Saw the mayor down there, and we did food, and we distributed everything. That closed. And then I was helping out and going to the hub in the Pili, where we could get food, medical supplies, emotional support. That's real big. That closed. Okay, now I go down to S-Turns. If everyone knows where S-Turns is, I think it's, the Hawaiian name is Pohaku Beach Park. Yeah, so the people there work so hard. We were there for Thanksgiving. They were giving out so many meals and everything. The latest thing, and I don't know if anyone else knows about it, I'm trying to find out, is that they're going to close it on December 31st in about a week or two. Does anyone know about if that can be extended, or, I mean, that's what they're asking for. I talked to the people today that run it.
So I can help with that. Let me help you. And I appreciate your use of the hubs. In the early days of the disaster, it was a critical need, right? We just saw all these hubs stood up, and it was amazing and so proud to see all of that. So we can see now that S-Turns is the one, left. We have been working with them closely. The community, quite frankly, would like their park back. That's clear, but the need may still exist. So I don't know if folks remember, but in August, there was an announcement with American Red Cross and the food bank, for food needs. The market was open on Ulupono. It was, I think, like a 4,000 square feet distribution site that's available. So that remains open. As far as the camaraderie, which is also part of what's happened with our hubs, it's become quite the spot for community work and staying together. That is important. This is why our community meetings also have been successful, because you all get to see each other. So we don't want to disrupt the gathering of people. We need to return the park to the community for its use, and we're grateful for all the work at the S-Turns and every hub along the way, whether it was in a U-turn circle somewhere or on the beach, or there were so many. But we have been working with the S-Turn folks. It was actually supposed to close in November. We extended it. We're looking at early part of January. And you just reminded me that we could do a better job of telling people where else they can go, because that is important. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And we'll continue to work with the folks who have been organizing it and beginning it and, just being at it every day. It's hard work, no doubt. And we appreciate that, and we aloha them for that. So thank you for that. But it's the market at Ulupono, and we'll do a better job at making sure people know where those resources are. But thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Jackie, we have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering when these meetings are, moving forward from today, what is the best place that people can go to get answers to these kind of questions? Because obviously we don't, as a community, really have access to all these, higher ups in the organizations.
I have to tell you, almost every day we've been working on that one, and as we try to figure out what to do, next year to make sure we can focus on rebuilding and the whole recovery work for Lahaina town, we've been trying to figure out how do we give you access to information, because every meeting is never alike, never. And if you understood what our team goes through to know, is tonight's question about water, or is tonight's question about, the mango tree? Or is tonight's question about harbor, or are we going to talk about, other stuff? So it's so complex. So we've continued the discussion. We're trying to beef up the recovery site so that when you walk in, you can get a little bit more. We have a contracted team that's pulling community questions that come out of this meeting. We're trying to do a better job of preparing our directors, consolidating them, categorizing them, and then pre-answering them, because eventually it all cycles back again. And then we go, oh, we told them that, in 4,000 years ago, and here they are asking again. So how do we standardize those type of questions? We talked about emailing last week, the Office of Recovery, using that email at mauicounty.gov for the very more complicated situations, so we could do a better job at making sure that people know that's where you go. It is difficult to assemble 20-something departments to come, but we welcome suggestions, but those are the ways that we're going to keep trying. We're just like inventing it as we go.
Awesome. I appreciate that thought you've put into that, Mahina. I appreciate it. I had a lot of questions and comments for FEMA today, so I asked them before I got here, so I kind of just wanted to share with everyone. There's been quite a few situations where the owners of the units that are participating in the direct lease program are contacting survivors directly. I don't know of two other, but I know all three people that I've spoken to. Lima Charlie is their property manager, so I don't know if it's unique to that. But I just wanted to flag that really it's just like in the hotels when you are having bad experiences with the way FEMA workers were treating you and stuff, like literally the only thing, they can only do something if you report it. So you can ask your disaster case manager to call the FEMA number to make the report on your behalf, or you can call. And it is not going to affect your case and how things are handled for you. So if you are having that situation, please go ahead and either ask your DCM to do it or call the number. It's 808-784-1600. That's a number from way back when. And then for continued temporary housing assistance, there's been a lot of people saying, I'm behind on my rent. We got denied, I don't know what to do. And so ultimately, again, everything is a case-by-case basis. So if you were denied you have to apply every 3 months. You have to re-qualify for continued temporary housing assistance. And so if you were denied, you have to follow that appeals process. We don't really have a timeline, but you do have to recertify or re-qualify every 3 months. And so if you typically, it's a missing paperwork, but sometimes it's other things. So you should be able to call that same number or go to the Office of Recovery in Lahaina or Kako'o, Maui. So those were my things that I just really wanted to flag. Thank you.
FEMA job application. She's hoping you respond to all of those questions. Thank you so much, Jackie. Appreciate it. We had a question right here. The woman in the white sweater. I know your hand was up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You're there. Go ahead. Oh, now we got a junk in pull. Okay, we'll come back this way. Sorry, we're running one mic tonight, so it's a little tricky. Go ahead.
Yeah, aloha. I came here today mostly because DLNR was going to be here. Paul, thank you for coming. One of the questions I have, I guess, with the whole rebuilding the harbor and all the ocean stuff, and I know it's I know there's a lot that goes on, but when I start reading all the memos and everything about how many millions and millions and millions of dollars it's going to take to get Lahaina Harbor redone, I have to reflect on the fact that how many millions and millions of dollars have the commercial operators paid, and it goes in the general fund. And now there's nothing left, and we're trying to figure out where the money's going to come from. Yet each and every ticket is charged an extra 3% sales tax from anyone that comes here, and it just goes poof. And now you're saying there is no money for the back row? That's where my slip was. There's no money for this, no money for that. I just want to know between Mayor, listen, I know it's not your department. Paul, I know it's in your department, it's state. But I want to know why we've paid so much for so long, and yet we can't get anything accomplished because there's no money, because it's gone.
Paul, do you want to offer anything? Morris is going to, where's Morris?
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Paul.
Okay, you can use that.
Never on the spot, but I can tell you, if I go back to my notes, I had said with all the cost that was going into the rebuild, most of that money was coming out of the boating special funds. So the money from 3% gross receipts coming from the commercial operators is going into the special boating fund. And that's what we're using, is that money that comes from, everyone who pays their slip fees and gross receipts and sales tax. So that'll help for Maui.
All right, thank you, Paul. Thank you for that question. We're going to take right after that question. Okay, and then we have a question in the back, and and we have some online questions, but we'll go there first.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Last week after the meeting, there was a theft again in Wahikuli. Turns out it was a builder's employee that stole a forklift, drove down Ainakea, went to Fleming, and was trying to steal Goodfellow Brothers' remote control compact roller. He didn't get very far, and Uncle Earl was very close by and witnessed some of that. I also got a page or a text from my friend, has a posting from a lady that lives in Wahikuli and letting us know there's a cat killer. Somebody is shooting cats with BB guns or pellet guns. Also on Sunday, there was a regular parade on Ainakea of tourists. Just thought they'd do a Sunday drive, several cars. In 5 minutes, I counted 5 cars. So I think we need to do a better job with the messaging, because nobody's getting it. They're ignoring the signs. They're ignoring any placards or officials. It was a parade. I was joking with Uncle Earl because it was a parade of our local neighbors, and we do know our neighbors. But you can tell the tourist cars. They're pointing, stopping, taking pictures. They don't know where to go. I couldn't even get out of my own driveway because the big SUV couldn't manage a 3-point turn with the whole family in the back. So I'm moving into my own trailer on the property come first week of January with my 2 cats. As you can tell, I'm a little upset. I have a lot of anxiety. I believe I'm kind of going backwards here. I'm just trying to I think we as the mayor, as the county, everybody, we can do a better job with the messaging and not just a sign that says local traffic only. So, I mean, how many of you guys here that have pets think of your pets as your family members, right? I also feel like my cats are my family members. They're my, like, therapy. So I also have been denied rental assistance because I don't have a traditional family. I'm a single. So I've been trying for rental assistance for 6 months. I just need 6 months because I can't pay anymore. I'm out of money from my SBA loan that I got. So there's a couple of issues, but most of it is, please do a better job with the messaging with their visitors. I did take a video today with a couple of the 18-year-old kids down at Canoe Beach because practicing for the high school tournament, and I wanted to share it with the mayor and Cynthia. But like I said, I think the messaging, we can do a better job. I don't know, I'm only speaking for myself, but I feel like that it needs to be done. It really needs to be done.
So thank you for that. Here's what we can do. Messaging is very, that's our field too, right? So messaging is very important. It's also one of many tasks that need to be done. However, I will take that to the associations that deal with tourism here, including some of the GMs, and there's just this group that comes together and see if they can come up with some solutions for their industry here to help us with that. And I'll let you know how that conversation goes. I think we need help beyond us, beyond the county government. So appreciate that. Thank you. I had a way in the back there. Go ahead.
Aloha kako. My name is Coco. Some of you know me. I tend to be a person to get emotional, and I think that it's okay to do that. There's a lot of emotions, and there's a lot that so many of you have put into being here and to rebuilding your lives. And I'm from Lahaina, and I love you guys. I do. And I think that as I watch, I just want to share quickly, as I watch all the hard work going on, the people that have tuned in and the people that are here, and I think we're all doing our best. I think sometimes we can be here fully, and sometimes it's hard, and it's the end of the year, and just to acknowledge all of us, all of the work, and my hope and my vision for next year is better communication from everyone, that we all learn to continue to speak each other's languages. And the talk story, as I heard, result of the community feedback is that it is very helpful to the community to have a space. And that we also, I think one of the things that I've learned, I just want to share, that it's really helpful when we're bringing feedback to come with specific questions and to send emails and document and follow up and come here. And if you feel shut down when you come for the first time, come back and come back again. And even if it's only once a month, I don't think that it's always acknowledged. The county's not just acknowledging the work that the community has done. The community created the work. They laid the roots for government to come in and then elevate it to the next level. And government's really good at taking credit. And that's okay, we're not doing it for credit. But I do also want to acknowledge everyone, government and community, and I hope that we all continue to learn to work together, and that everyone has a safe holiday season, and that you reach out and keep holding on to each other.
Mahalo for that. I'm going to go to the online questions before we return. Shane, this is for you. The pending sewer system for Wahikuli, you addressed that, but this person's neighborhood is at Wahikuli Terrace, is partially wastewater ready, but the cul-de-sac is not. Would you know why? Komohana Place, to be specific. Why would that area not be ready, wastewater ready?
If I understand the area that the person is asking about, that's the last remaining lots in Waikuli Terrace that does not have wastewater. I don't want to put this on Army Corps, but it is tied into the Fleming Road sewer system that Army Corps is putting in for the Kilohana project. Your system in that area, a group of lots, ties into the sewer line that's coming down Malo Street along the train track. There was some issue with contaminated groundwater that Army Corps is working hard with Department of Health and others to mitigate. They are making progress. There is a tentative schedule, but we need to wait for that work to be completed before we turn the lots, the remaining lots in Waikuli Terrace green. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Shane. This is, I'm not sure if it's Kate or Four Leaf, but it's an SMA. If an SMA application is in, how quick can they get their building permit? I'm looking at both Four Leaf. Oh, okay, Kate? Thank you.
I'm closest. So you're gonna hate this answer. It depends. So it really depends on your project. It depends on if it's a SMXF process, then I just told everyone if you're an SMXF process and you're not in the shoreline, then you don't have to go through that process anymore. It really is up to building. And I don't know if Shana wants to address how quickly you're moving through building permits now, but it really does depend on the complexity of the project and how complete the application is and things like that.
To piggyback off of that, it also quite depends on your process. It depends how quickly you can get your review comments back to us. It takes about 5 business days after intake to do a first comment review. How quickly after that and how we can approve is how quickly your draftsmen can address the comments and turn it back to us. So that's kind of how it is.
Thank you, Shana. Shana's with Four Leaf. So if you have a specific question and you're here, you can see her. These two, one is a suggestion, Mayor, because you asked for a suggestion. Can we use the lot behind the Civic Center as a location for bus service for Lahaina Harbor? Commercial vessels per your request for suggestions. So park in that lot. That's from online. And the other question is, can schools be closed during red flag warning? We are going to pass that on to the DOE. That would be a DOE response that would be necessary. Okay, we're going to take one more question right here. And then we're going to end with Uncle over there. Go ahead.
Okay, this is for the Department of Land and Natural Resource or the mayor, I'm not sure which one. If we want to help advocate for the harbor to get reopened again, at least for the boats to be able to load and unload, get fuel, be able to get water and deal with their sewage there instead of having to go to Ma'alaya. For funding, for the restrooms down there, I'm not sure who's responsible for them, if we could get portable ones down there in the meantime. But what could we do? Is there something we can write to like the governor for an emergency proclamation? What should we ask for? I guess, how can we help you help the harbor get back? Because it supports a lot of support community also for the caterers and a lot of people, and just going to, they're going to want to see the banyan tree, it's down there. So I just feel like getting the park and the pool open was, even for us that don't use it, just driving by and seeing it getting used is so hopeful, and thank you so much for all the effort you did for that. But I feel like the harbor would do a lot for a lot of the locals and for the visitor industry, just to see one more piece get done. How can we help you? How can we advocate with the governor to get an emergency proclamation? What should we ask for?
Good question. Paul? Yeah.
Well, of course, money's always going to be a good thing to ask for the governor. It's difficult. I want to tell you that as we move into 2025, I got a feeling that the answers that we're looking for are going to be there. Because everyone is looking at 2025 in a different light. Yeah, how to make things work. Like I said, some things we cannot respond to. There's a lot of requests for boaters to come back to Kaanapali. I can tell you it's not as easy. I've been working with Everett Balmorris with regards to the MEMA security and the access placards to get into the burn zone. And believe me, that's a tough position for Everett to have. But he's been successful at getting it done. You guys have come to me, I've put in the application. We've gotten the access placards for contractors to get in there and do the work and get out, and then we'll do the same thing for the next people. For Lahaina, it's the same thing. People that want to get in there, we got to figure out how we're going to get in there safely, how we're going to get people in there safely. The idea of shuttling them in is good because then maybe the access placard is just limited to Roberts or MEO or the vans who are picking up these people to bring them in. And as far as the restrooms go, well, Shane and them are taking care of Front Street, and there's a big circle around what they're doing. So I did ask them the other day for our restroom from the comfort station to the manhole by the old fort, who's responsible for that? And of course he said, I'm responsible for that. So it's a matter of getting a plumber to come in and snake the lines and visually take a look at it and see what's wrong with it. You know, are there holes? Has the banyan tree creeped in and broken the pipes? You know, the things that we pull out of there for 2024, T-shirts and cans and bottles and all kinds of stuff. How does stuff get in there like that? It's beyond us, but it does. And so it blocks up the process, yeah. And so we just have to work more at it, yeah. So it's one of the things that I'm going to take on personally is making sure that our procurement process, if Madam Chair can streamline it, that we can get our things done through the procurement process. That's one of the biggest things is streamlining our procurement process so that what I put on paper, it just goes to her for signature and then we can move forward. But sometimes it doesn't work like that either, yeah. Okay.
So stay tuned for 2025 is what he's saying. Uncle, and then Councilmember Paulton will have the last question of the night. And then we've been at it for a while, so we'll give our team a chance to hang out a little bit. Uncle, your question?
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Going back to all the organizations that volunteering or rather, you know, trying to get monies for help for the community to rebuild. My thoughts was, I come to these meetings often and I've heard of so many organizations, you cannot keep track. So my thought was, can there be a way to narrow down the network of these organizations that we can gather the information on one track instead of going all different tracks? Because it's hard. I mean, I don't know about others, but for me, you know, oh, good stuff I hear, but then something else come up and it's somebody else. It's not always on the same, you know, line that I'm on. So is there a way to narrow down the network of these organizations that I can go to and say, hey, how can you help me? And from that point, they tell me, okay, go to this organization or to these guys. You know, not come to the meeting and offer, and then we cannot remember. I mean, I'm sorry I don't can remember, but, you know, as the facts. Yeah, but my thought is, how can we narrow down the informational factor in a network where, you know, from one person can tell who you go to, if all depend on what the needs and the help that they need of. Yeah?
I think, Uncle, so Kako'o Center at the Maui Mall, and then the Gateway run by CNHA, Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, consolidate as much information as possible. But you were saying something that made me think maybe those centers, you know, we can do a better job. You walk in and you see just some information on which nonprofits offer what, you know, without feeling like you got to go look for somebody or something. So let me go talk to the team over at those centers to see how we can make it a little bit more simple. You just come in and get that information. You don't have to hunt, all over the place. So thank you for that. Yeah, I think plenty. It's quite a bit, and it does change. That I know. Thank you, Uncle. Council Member Pautin, the last question for the evening.
Thank you. My question is for the Mennonites. I heard that you're working with the lot across from King's Cathedral, but majority of people that I speak to want to return to West Maui. They don't necessarily. So have you considered bringing some of those tiny home structures out to West Maui? It could help with the neighborhood watch folks and things like that, because you can't really have a neighborhood watch if it's all empty lots. You have to be kind of living there. So I just was wanting to put it out there. A lot of people would like to return home to West Maui. And if you guys could see fit to bring some of those to West Maui, the infrastructure is coming along pretty quick with sewer, water, and things like that.
Okay, we'll let Don answer. Yes, the question of any future work towards being in Lahaina.
Specifically related to that Ahana Hope Village project, that question probably would be better directed at Family Life Center, because we're working at their behest, and so the future of those units themselves will be determined by that group. And yeah, they are semi-permanent there, but it's also on the emergency proclamation, their existence there. So Family Life Center, Dr. Kelly or Maud Cumming would be persons to ask that question to. Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Posey?
Yes. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody who participated and came tonight and asked questions. And, we're going to go back to our teams and try to help with all the issues, the harbor issues. We heard you. We'll go back and see what we can do to help with that. I wanted to give you a couple of updates as I was sitting here. So earlier today, we had a red flag warning that came out about 1:30, 2 o'clock today, and that is on until tomorrow afternoon on the leeward side of all islands. So again, red flag warning. Usually in the past, when we've had red flag warnings, we've canceled these community meetings, so we're not all out on the roads in case we got to keep the roads clear for obviously emergencies and other things. The word came out kind of late in the day, and we'd already had this. So I appreciate that everybody came out tonight, even with that, being aware of that. And if you were not, we want to make sure you guys know about that. It'll last till tomorrow afternoon. So take whatever precautions you need to take. The other thing I wanted to play on is there was a comment made by Rhonda Alexander Moncrief about Hawaii Community Lending. So the Hawaii Community Foundation gave $3 million to Hawaii Community Lending for the purpose of surveys. So the county hasn't been requiring surveys of you, but your architect or your contractor may be asking you for a topographic, a topo survey or property line survey. If you are in that category and you are an owner-occupied home, let me just be real clear. If it's an owner-occupied home, you can and you will be given funds from Hawaii Community Lending for those purposes. So in case that wasn't clear, the funding is available. Hawaii Community Foundation made that. Is that right, Rhonda? So I just wanted to remind people of that, because obviously all of these things help you in savings and in cutting down your costs. So whether you're online or in person, again, if you have a survey that you're required to get and you are owner-occupied homeowner, please apply for those funds. That's what they're for, and I wanted to encourage everybody about that. I want to answer a question that Jackie asked earlier. One of the ways to get updates when we're not meeting as regularly as we are now is through MauiRecovers.org. That is updated frequently. I can't say daily, but certainly weekly. All the information that Shane has shared, a lot of what both Jen and Kate have shared, a lot of the information that we have, you say stuff on that too, I would guess. Lots of information and current information is there. And then finally, Jackie, we need you to be one of our presenters at our future meetings, whether it's FEMA or any other thing, because you're obviously very well informed and you obviously care a lot about your community. So we will ask you to come in the future if you would like to come up and no, seriously, your observations are very keen and they apply across the board. So again, everybody drive home safely. Thank you. If you have any questions for us, please come on up and ask them all to Paul Cinsano. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys.